Good morning, everyone. This is Cal from Dirty Weasel, and this is October 12th, 2019, approximately 10 a.m. my local time. And what you are seeing in front of you right now is the pretty much the end of my gaming PC, and we are getting ready to do a new build. And I just want to go over a few things with you. I don't have a video cam recorder. I'm not one of these PC experts, but this will be my fourth build. But I want to go over what I had before and kind of go over a few things and then show you what we will be building. And of course, you see in this picture right here is the obligatory stack of gear and parts that we'll be building from. But I think we'll go over it part by part since I don't have a video cam to explain why I do things. But I just want to show you some of the old build stuff. This is CPU-Z, of course, and you can see I'm using presently an i7-4790K, yeah, upclocked a little bit to 4.0 gigahertz. This has been working for a very, very long time. Attached to it is an Asus Z97 motherboard. It's done a very good job. This is the second motherboard for this chip because the old Gigabyte one burned out and took a bunch of stuff with it. But if you know my troubles and travails with PCs in the past, you know that's a fairly common thing. That'll be relevant later on, but we'll discuss that in a later time. Memory attached to this is DDR3. At the time, I had this is 1600 overclocked. This is dual channel, of course, so you're only seeing 1800 799.5. It's 1600 RAM. It's DDR3. It's for the time it was very good, and that was 4 years ago. 4 years ago. And attached to that is an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080, and that will be the only part we will be recycling. Actually, two parts. But anyways, I wanted to talk about what we're building, and I'm going to go over the different parts that I've decided on and kind of explain why. We'll be going with an Intel i9 9900KF processor. I chose the Intel because I got the much cheaper than 479 you see here. I got it for about 459 on sale. The 9900KF is great for gaming. It doesn't have integrated graphics, but we have an RTX 2080 to handle that. And it's the fastest I can get for gaming. But I have the Threadripper that does all my processing, so I don't need all those extra cores. 8 core, 16 thread is plenty for the future. Will probably last another 4 years because we don't see a lot of CPU bottlenecking in the future. For the CPU cooler, we're going with an EVGA CLC 2080. I have these on both my rigs. This will be a recycled part that I'll be tearing off the old rig and redoing it because it's only about a year and a half old, and it works great. It does everything it should do, and from what the reviews I've been hearing, the EVGA CLC 2080 does a great, or the 280 does a great job, and it shouldn't be any problems. The thermal compound for that, putting it all together, will be the Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut. I got 2 vials of that. Should be very, very good. Installation on this is a little weird. I got to read up the instructions again. Now on motherboards, thought philosophy. Whenever you're building a PC, think about what you want to build and how you're going to lay it all out. Your CPU, your GPU, how many sticks of memory you're going to need, and what type of memory you'll need for that, and additional storage things like NVMe M.2 drives. Those are very important. The Gigabyte Z390 Aorus Pro Wi-Fi ATX LGA 1151 motherboard is the one that's appropriate for the 9900K. And from what I've been reading and from what I've been seeing, the Aorus Pro has the same VRM, voltage regulation management, or however that is, as the Ultra, and it is just as good as the Aorus Master. Went down to the Pro because the VRM is just as good and it can handle everything I want to need, and it doesn't have a lot of, you know, LED lights and all this other crazy stuff, but it does have the Wi-Fi, which I think is very important for the future going ahead. And it's solid board. Everything seems to be thinking that the Gigabyte has finally got it right with their motherboards, and this is one of the top rated ones. Memory for this is the G-Skill Ripjaws V Series 32 gig package, DDR4 3200 memory. It will have about the sweet spot for speed on this. I'll probably have to boost up the latency on it a little bit to my own liking, just to get a little more performance out of it, but that it will do a fine job, and I don't care about what it looks like. It's black. It goes in a black box. It sits in the corner, up on a stand. It doesn't do much. Storage on this, let's talk about the boot drive first. It is a Samsung 970 EVO Plus. M.2 NVMe, 500 gigabyte. That'll be fine for the operating system. It's not going to be handling a lot of the peripheral production stuff. This is primarily for gaming, and it's a backup rig in case I need to render video or something else if my Threadripper goes down. And this will handle most of those programs very well. 500 gigabytes is more than enough for a boot drive. The games drive, on the other hand, is a 2 terabyte Intel 660p series. It is relatively a cheaper version, but it is NVMe, and all the reviews I've been seeing, as long as you don't, use it for daily read writes, it should be just fine for a gaming rig. This will last a lifetime, so it's not particularly fast on reads, and that's fine. Or on writes, it should be just fine for reads, and that's what primarily games are. You're basically reading it over and over and over, and it reads super fast. For bulk storage, we're going with the Seagate Barracuda 2 terabyte, 7200 RPM internal hard drive. This is a standard little hard drive. Nothing special about this. And primarily, this is just to hold things. We won't be using it for any performance purposes. Basically, it's for to hold all the mods. And there's a lot of them. A lot. Let me just say that. Gigs and gigs and gigs of mods over the years that I've collected and I don't want to lose. So they'll be going onto this. Going farther down, of course, the recycled out of this current rig, the Asus GeForce RTX 2080 8GB ROG Strix Gaming Overclock Video Card. It's a beastly card. It's great. Is it good as an RTX 2080 Ti? No. Is it probably as good as the RTX 2080 Super? It's a marginal, probably about 7%, 3 to 7%, depending on the game. A little bit slower than the newest version of the RTX 2080 Super, but I don't care. I don't feel like spending any more money on it. The case is the Corsair 2070R ATX mid-tower case. It is an older case that you're going to have a hard time finding because I had a hard time finding it. And it is a match exactly to my Threadripper build, and they sit side by side. I thought it'd be nice to have them look exactly the same. It's a black case and has stuff in it. Power supply, it doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside. For power supply, I went with probably one of the strongest power supplies possible as far as durability and reliability. It is the Seasonic Focus Plus Gold 850, 80 plus gold certified, fully modular ATX power supply. All the reviews I've read on it say, yeah, this thing is tough as nails and it's not going to fail you. It has a 10-year warranty on it and it does a very good job. Other things of note, the Be Quiet. I've got 3 of these Be Quiet Silent Wings PWM high-speed fans. They all going in the front of the case, and the cooler will be mounted at the top. There will be a couple exhaust fans at the back. I got some other ones. I think they're Arctic Silent Wings, blah, 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 something like that. And they'll be going in the back for exhaust, both straight out the back and out the top, because the 2080 doesn't take up all the slots. It'll be fine. I'm going to have plenty of circulation. Monitors and other things, I don't think you really care too much about this. It's just about the build. The monitor, I use a Viotech 1440p, 140 gigahertz monitor, but no one really cares about that. It's a cheap monitor. It worked for me. It looks great. I don't care. Of course, I use Threadripper. It has its own monitor and stuff. But that's how this Threadripper build, or this gaming rig, will be laid out. I have, for your information, I have transferred everything over of note to my Seasonic expansion drive. This is an external hard drive. I think it's like 6 terabytes or something. It holds a bunch of stuff. And I bought it just for this purpose, and it also relies on other things. There's storage drive in here. A lot of the files from my old dump drive where all my mods live are in here. And you can see a bunch of stuff in there, but that's where all of my mod organizer stuff is. I copy over the game folder, and you can see that's where all my Steam apps common are. This is where all the games are. So we will be, once we get the new computer up and running, all I have to do is load them back in. I also copied my documents. There's a bunch of personal stuff in there, and it also holds games, file saves, and a bunch of other things. Desktop copy. All my stuff on my desktop that you see currently is put back into the external hard drive. That way I can keep them and I can just reload them up. Also app data, because I have a lot of stuff that is application based, I need to have the app data and I'll copy it over into app data so I can have them. But that's a basic component. If you want to ever switch over your existing CPU to a brand new computer setup with all new hard drives, get an external hard drive, copy them all over, save them forever. This way you can install them back in the new one. You don't have to start fresh. It's a good idea. But that way I've done my backup. I have already purchased a new Windows 10 key, but to save myself the headache of doing all the updates, I'll be creating a Windows 10 installation media using a USB. I'm getting ready to do that right now, but that's one of the final steps. And I want to have the external hard drive disconnected while doing this, just so it's only the USB that I'll be creating the Windows 10 installation media. So that's it. I'll give you updates along the way. As I do things, I'll break out the webcam and take pictures of me maybe doing things. You'll only see my hands though. It's funny. Anyways, that's it for now. Stand by for even more updates as this blog thing goes along, and we'll see you at the next step. Okay, guys, quick update after I went off and watched the Texas Longhorns lose to Oklahoma today and drinking too many beers. I am back at work and we've actually installed a few things. We've got the CPU installed, we've got our RAM installed, we've got one of the M2 uh, M.2 slots installed. Everything else is ready to go. I'm going to proceed on to the installation inside the case. The dogs are hanging out with me, looking at all the empty packages, but you get the idea what's going on here. So I'll check in with you with the next step. And we're back. Guess what? We finished it. It's actually posted, no problems. I had to take a couple breaks. We had some issues at home to take care of, but the build's done. Yay. Yay. It seems to be working just fine. I had no major issues. I had to make some minor tweaks here and there on it, but it's running and I can have a post screen. I can't turn my camera around to show you it, but once we get it up and running, and I'll do another follow-up video. But that's the build 2019 of the new gaming rig. It's kind of a video log. It's just me doing stuff, but all the fans are spinning. All the lights are on. Yeah, I know it's a mishmash LEDs, but I don't care because I'm going to put sides on it and no one's going to see it. It's a black box that sits on a shelf on my desk and no one's going to see it. So it seems to be working just fine. I have to upload BIOSes and Windows 10 and move all the shit back that I had before, but it works. It's a fun video to do. Good morning, and we're back. It's now day 2. Day after I spent almost all night resetting up all the software, doing a mild overclock, updating all the BIOSes on the game and or on the PC, and we're back with just kind of showing you the results. A couple notes. I was so tired last night after all the stuff I had to do yesterday that I didn't really discuss some of the problems that we ran into with doing the build, and I'll just throw up a picture right now. Originally, I wanted to put the CPU cooler, the radiator at the top, but due to the rather large heat sinks on the VRMs on the Aorus Pro Wi-Fi board, I couldn't fit the radiator at the top. So, matter of fact, it was even interfering with just a basic fan up there. The VRM heat sinks on this board are gigantic, not as big as some of the other ones at the top end of the line, but using a mid tower case like I do with the 270R, I was running into headspace issues. So I decided to reconfigure it to a push pull configuration at the front of the case, and then having one exhaust at the back and one exhaust at the top. And things are working pretty well. You can see here in my temperatures right now, idles, I'm right around in the 20s for most of the cores. The package bounces between, the mid to upper 30s, sometimes peaking 40. And it seems to be working pretty well. I set all the fan temperatures to PWM with a silent configuration, and it seems to be tolerable. Front push pull configuration in the front of the case is a little bit noisier just because it's closer to where I am, and it's still about 4 feet away from me. and it's up off the ground. It's about 4 feet off the ground as well. So they stay up and out of the way. So the sound's not bad. We're going to run a real basic stress test here just so we can watch the temperatures and the core utilization. I did a very mild, not in depth 5.0 gigahertz clock, and you can see them right away. The clocks down in this section right bounce right to 5,000 megahertz right away, and the temperatures we'll see start to peak up. And this is what I've been seeing for maxes during the entire time. You can see now that the fans have all kicked in, and I can hear them. You can't, but I can. Um, the package is holding right about 83 and mid to lower 80s. Each of the cores is in the 60s and 70s. This is very acceptable. The T-Max on the 9900K is 105. You can see we're not getting anywhere close to that. Granted, this isn't the hardest stress test in the world, but it seems to be holding fairly well, and I'm happy with this. Now, gaming, of course, this is a gaming rig. It's not my production rig. This is more than acceptable. I'm happy with this. It's holding right at, I think I put in 1.275 volts for this, and it's holding it just fine. I had it run a stress test and then went out and walked chance and came back, and these are the numbers I saw. The EVGA CLC 280 is doing a fine job. I'm very happy with this. Just to see these temperatures right across the board, 70, 71, 74, 76 for most of the cores, and an 87 package. This is fine. I'm fine with that. The temperatures at the top are all very good. You can see the fans are only running about half speed. They're not even really trying to keep up. The most of the fans that I have are all 1500 to 2000 RPMs, and they're just keeping up just fine. So there's more headroom to go here. I'm not at all concerned about this. The the temperatures inside the rig are all fine. I see no problems in there. That means my airflow is very, very good. I'm not having any issues there at all. So I think we've got a very stable rig. You see the airflow in here, the temperatures on this is the outside, this is the outside the hard drive, and the temperature inside for the SSD that runs the games are all fine. The SSD Evo Plus, fine, no problems. And then, of course, the NVIDIA RTX 2080 GPU is not trying, but we're not stressing the GPU at all. So this is why it's not really doing much. So I mean, everything's looking very, very good. I'm very happy with this. It should be a fine gaming rig going forward. I don't see any issues, but I wanted to point out the problems that I ran into last night and how I had to reconfigure. I'm going to stop the stress test now that we know what we've got going on, and still we're holding very nicely. So that is a fine thing. You'll see the temperatures just plummet right down as the uh, cooler does its job and drops the temperatures right away. And we're already back in the 20s, and in the packages coming down quite nicely. Most of the time, idles, no problem. 20s, low 30s. So I'm very happy with this. This not as in depth of a build, but I'm not a computer builder by design on this channel. I just wanted to give you an update on kind of how I went through it. And it took me a while, mostly because I had distractions and real life things. So that's it for now, guys. I hope you kind of enjoyed that little snippet and how I did things. My name's Cal. I'm from Dirty Weasel, and I'm signing off.